name is Tyler.
My name is Heather.
And this is our tiny home. We're out in Teller County, Colorado.
We've been living here for almost a year now.
The dimensions are 12 by 40.
This is Rosita.
And this is Beatrice.
And they live here with us.
As of right now, we're sitting on 40 acres out here in Teller County. We're sharing that with my father-in-law.
And my stepmom.
And Vicky.
And Vicky.
It's about a quarter mile up to the top of the driveway, and that's where they're at.
We are 100% solar power. That's all of our electricity comes from solar. We're on a cistern for water and propane for heat and cooking.
And on the outside of the house, the main feature is the stucco. It really helps regulate temperatures. We're in the summertime or in the wintertime. As you can see, that we have a deck that we try to utilize every single morning. We drink coffee out there. I do my ice baths out here, and we also do some grilling out there. All right, so that's pretty much it for the outside. So let's take a look on the inside. Oh my God. So welcome to our tiny home.
Come on, old lady.
We have about 480 square feet down here, and then we have another 120 upstairs in the loft.
When we were thinking about how we wanted to lay things out, we wanted as much open room as possible. Our old house was kind of closed off, and so we wanted to really open things up so it looked a lot bigger than obviously what it actually is, and it was really important for us to have a big bathroom.
The build experience was a learning experience, to say the least. I learned a lot from her father, Jeff. It was very, very, very rewarding when everything was all said and done, because I can actually say I built this with my two hands.
So let's head into the living room, which is right through here. We wanted this space to be our comfortable sitting area because of the two biggest windows in the house. They're right here. We have a beautiful view of Pikes Peak and Mount Pisgah out this window, and then we see a ton of wildlife. We get deer in through here. We've even seen a coyote up in here before. It's just beautiful. A lot of times we'll just sit here and sip our coffee and eat our breakfast and not even turn the TV on, because we just have such a wonderful view in this space. Because we live on solar power, I had to be very aware of how much electricity we were using. So like the candles and the air freshener and things like that are run off of rechargeable battery power. I'm not wasting electricity by having all my little decorative elements on. We will have a working fireplace in this room, which I'm really, really excited for. Again, like the Mountain Man TV set right here will be up and running soon. I really love this space also too, because it has like the very, very, very tall ceilings. The tongue and groove makes it feel really cabiny. And this side of the living room, we have a lot of storage, right? So we had to get really creative with storage when you're in a tiny home. The loft, as you'll see, has a pretty low ceiling. It's hard for Tyler to get dressed up there, honestly. So giving him some closet space down here was just a lot more practical for his body size and for our home size as well. Stuff that you like want to grab and go right out the door is all right here. I find in a tiny home, it's really smart and efficient to build up as much as you can, because your floor space is obviously very limited. So the taller you can get things, the more storage it can provide you. We're going to go to the middle of the house, which is kind of our multi-purpose, multi-use room. We have some storage right here in this cabinet. This is my workout stuff, so I was very careful about finding stuff that I could kind of pack down really nicely and get out of the way so that this was still a nice open space for us. At the moment, this is our heat source. It's just a propane run heater. It actually doesn't use any electric, and it keeps the entire house very, very, very nice and warm. So this is our washer and dryer, stackable to save space, but also this is a propane dryer, and so it saves us a ton of electricity. Really, the only electricity to this dryer is the actual tumble of it. Otherwise, it is propane heated, and so it makes like a blowtorch type of noise when the propane comes on to heat it, and then the electric spins it. But this saves us a ton of electricity. We can actually run this at night when we're not getting any solar power because it uses so little electricity to dry our clothes. So the fridge is also run on propane, again, to save electricity. The two items use very, very little propane, but that is essentially like what powers them is the propane and not so much the electric. Our propane company put a meter on our propane tank, and so they know, like they get a notification when it gets down to a certain percentage, and they automatically send somebody out here to come out and fill it up. So like we don't ever have to worry about running out of propane. You don't know until you just do it. Never gonna work if you don't just make it work.
It's never gonna be the right time. When it feels scary to jump, oftentimes that's when it's time to make that jump. If you're thinking about building off the grid or that tiny home or that little cabin out in the mountains, you don't know how you're gonna make it work. If you really wanna do something in this life, you will make it happen. It's a matter of doing things that you don't want to do right now for the things that you want later on.
I'm a criminal defense investigator. I essentially help attorneys who represent people who are charged with crimes. Anything from DUI traffic cases to felonies. I have quite a few homicide cases right now, so just a wide range of criminal cases. So yeah, we are acrobats, part-time professional, so we get paid as partner acrobats, but we also do a lot of group work stuff. I also do pole and I do lollipop lyra.
I am from southeastern Iowa. I am a survival instructor at the Survival University here in Cripple Creek, Colorado. I write post-apocalyptic fiction. I have a book out, State of Contempt, Ruined Nation, that finally came out this year. Acting was something I always wanted to do when I was a child, and after I got out of the military, I was provided a unique opportunity to pursue that. And I probably did 16 films and television shows within about 1.5 to 2 years. And then COVID hit and I had to reroute everything. And so that's where I had the time to write a book finally. And then I got a call back from a casting director saying, hey, I think you'd be great for this part for this reality TV show, The Garden, Commune, or Cult. After the show, I realized that I wanted something more sustainable living, off-grid living, realizing that we can be much happier with a lot less. And that really is what drove us to do what we're doing now, is living in this tiny home.
I'm a lover of wood. Ponderosa pine, maple, oak, cherry, mahogany. Oh, would you look at that? Rich walnutty perfection. Introducing Holzkern, a watch and jewelry brand for men and women. Each of their products is unique and made from sustainably sourced natural materials. They don't just look mesmerizing and awesome. Everything is made in small quantities, which ensures each and every item meets a high standard of quality that will last you a very long time. Looking for a perfect gift for your loved ones? Look no further than Holzkern. I'm excited to find a very special handcrafted piece of nature that's wearable art. There's nothing like creating a warm and fuzzy feeling for someone you love. All orders placed by February 7th are guaranteed to arrive by Valentine's Day. Save 15% off your Holz Kern purchase with our code tinyhouse15 and get a free red gift bag with every order until February 16th. Use our link or scan the QR code on the screen.
All right, so now we're gonna be heading into the kitchen. We have a creative solution to not having a dining space, and we have this little breakfast nook that Heather found. All we do is just roll this out, and then on the back side here that has a little table that pops open. Next up is this refrigerator. I like it. It's probably way more than what we actually need in this tiny home. It's massive, but this is probably one of the reasons why I got this refrigerator. The craft ice maker for those who like a little bourbon in their life, or a lot, no judgment. I have these little drinking ice cubes, and honestly, that was one of the main reasons why I bought this fridge. We got these cabinets already pre-made from Home Depot. They're made out of ash. And then we have this wooden butcher's block. It looks fantastic. It can be fairly pricey, but it's definitely, as you can see, worth for the aesthetic of it. People don't understand when you're on solar, the amount of electricity to heat things up takes a lot of power. Luckily, as you'll see here in a little bit, our solar system is fantastic and easily handles stuff like this. Our stove, partially electric, but the main heating source is propane. I never heard of pegboard until I met my wife, Heather, but it is a thing of beauty, especially in a tiny space. You know, like we said before, in the city, we were also in a tiny home, a little over 600 square feet, and was covered in this stuff. As you can see, where there's a blank wall, there is a possibility of storage. Pegboard has, as you can see, is filled up with all these little holes, and that's all it is. These little metal brackets and this little sheet piece of wood that's been painted quickly creates the storage that you're gonna need in a place like this. Things like the stove and the sink, they were given to us. My father-in-law, her dad, their lifestyle of building and selling homes, they had some appliances left over, so that actually helped the cost of the house. Point of any tiny home, anybody that's out there that lives in a tiny home or that wants to live in a tiny home or to watch these type of videos, they know that storage is an issue. We have cabinets in here that I don't think they even have anything in it, that we have so much storage. So that is a good problem to have. And another point that I refused to live without was a dishwasher. And that's because you live in a tiny home and you live off the grid doesn't mean that you can't have luxury items. Yes, it's a luxury item. It might be tiny, but guess what? I don't have to wash the dishes. So that is a plus for me. It doesn't seem very significant, but we have little things like this. If you have a tiny wife, you gotta have stools everywhere that you kick in the middle of the night. That's always fun, but let's get in the bathroom. So believe it or not, this bathroom is by far, I would almost say 2 to 3 times bigger than the bathroom we had in the city. We have a window that looks up the side of the mountain. Beautiful space that, you know, as you're brushing your teeth, you see wildlife walking by and you don't get to really experience that in the city. Heather designed most of this stuff for her space. She has all of her things, which is a lot of things. Here is a love-hate relationship. This compost toilet. Going with this, instead of going with like a flush toilet, we're gonna have to get a septic system or a leach field, which not only adds a bunch of time, but it's also gonna add a bunch of money on top of it. The pro of it is the price point, but also our carbon footprint. We're not using a lot of water. We get to control how much water we use because that is a finite resource that we have at this point, which living in a tiny home like this, you learn to reserve and you start becoming very aware how long, even this when you're brushing your teeth, how long you're leaving the sink on. When you're in the city and you know, You can use as much water as you possibly want. You don't realize you're wasting gallons and gallons of water just to brush your teeth. Here, you turn it on when you need it and you turn it off when you don't. With this system, you have 2 separate chutes, one for the urine. When it comes to pooping, you got this little trap door, which you leave this closed so that way the urine doesn't get mixed in with your poop. Being athletes, we drink lots of water. Biggest pain of this system is we have to dump this thing every single day. When it comes to pooping, we have to take this thing outside and dump it into a trash. If you properly turn it into a compost pile, and after a year or 2 of turning it and moving it around, it actually becomes very usable. So that's one way to become self-sustaining. So we have an intake and an outtake right here, and it's all run by a 12-volt system, which takes very little electricity at all. So that's perfect for our off-grid situation. And then we have that fan, that 12-volt fan, sucks in air and then puts it out in this exhaust, so it helps cut down the smell that you're going to have with these things, which is another con. If you don't keep up with it, with you don't cleaning out the urine tank, not cleaning out the poop, you're going to start like an RV. You're going to start having that porta potty smell. Here again, we utilize pegboard, where we put our rags and face towels here, our bath towels up here, and then over here we got more storage with my basket, her basket. Here, check this out. A little place of solace in this home. Just because we're in a tiny home doesn't mean that we can't have a big shower. We have to, get in and out because, again, we're on a finite resource when it comes to water. But other than that, this is an awesome space to be in. All right, so that's it for the shower, and behind the curtain is not a wizard, but our solar system and our water heating system. So this is an on-demand water heater. It uses propane, never runs out of hot water, and that's a thing of beauty. It works really well. Back here is our power converter for our solar system. It's a Sol Arc. It can generate up to 8,000 watts. Like right now, we are only using 0.24 kilowatts. Hardly anything at all, and we're bringing in 0.45 kilowatts. It runs on a 48 volt system. We have 16 lithium batteries all linked together in a specific way to create that type of system. But the solar system itself, batteries, panels, bracketing, which we installed all over ourselves, I think is about $20,000. So that was one of the major costs of this home. I'd rather buy now, cry now, and then, versus like having to buy later on and then, cry because I got to pay for a whole new system because I bought a cheap system in the first place. To run all of this, we have 16 360 watt panels, which makes it around a 5,000 watt system. Here, as you can see, we have the stairs going up into the loft. So we thought about actually installing drawers. Like we were saying before, it's all about storage and creative space saving. And I think utilizing drawers into the stairs would be one of those things. All right, so that's enough down here, and it's time to go up in the loft. Let me show you that next. And as you can see, as beautiful as this space is, not necessarily my favorite space due to, well, you'll see. And as you can tell, this is a lovely room, but not necessarily my favorite due to the lack of space. So I'm gonna let Heather take this one.
The bedroom was challenging. I knew I needed to fit 3 things up here. I knew I needed to fit the king size bed, my office, and I knew I needed to fit a closet. This is actually my office area. This is where I work from home. This whole thing folds up into a nice little cabinet where you wouldn't even know that it was an office. And sometimes I'll do that just because mentally I need to shut it down and not pay attention to work and get my head out of that space. This is my closet bar, which was a wonderful find. I think we got it on Amazon or something like that. Found the studs in the wall. That was super duper important because this is very, very heavy. We found these at Walmart, but they were not nearly pretty enough for me. So I got some wallpaper and cut it to size and put it on the front of these just to give it more of a decorative feel. We did the windows here on purpose so that we get a nice cross breeze. This is obviously the hottest room in the house. It's the highest point in the house and it gets really warm up here. So we have a nice cross breeze coming from these two windows. One of my favorite features though about this is that the entire underneath part of our bed is also storage. So tons and tons of storage. It doesn't really look like it because it's all fairly hidden. I lived in the Springs because I worked in the Springs at the public defender's office. And when I quit, and went private. So I essentially started my own business. I don't need an office. I can just work from home. So it made my schedule more flexible. I think the show just kind of reorganized priorities. It made it to where this was a priority to be around family. And yeah, maybe we have to drive a little bit further. We had to drive a little bit more.
Right.
But we get this beautiful space in the mountains, in the woods. Our carbon footprint, our eco footprint is 100 times smaller now, which was important to us, and just slowing ourselves down.
Living in the city and living with PTSD that I've kind of developed with my time in the service, I had a lot of anxiety in the city. And for me, I've slowly realized that living, or at least getting out in the wilderness, getting outside, out in nature, around natural settings was actually very therapeutic for me. So there's a lot of people out there like myself that always have this dream of I'm gonna go off in the mountains and have this little cabin or this little tiny home and just live peacefully by myself or with my partner.
God, we talked about it for years before we actually just did it.
And that's really scary because there's a lot of money, there's a lot of sacrifice, there's a lot of give and take, lots of pros and cons. You just got to figure out, what do you want out of life?
The garden commune or cult, the Discovery Channel bought a piece of property of their own and said, start a community, show us how you do this from the ground up. So they brought in regular people who live the normal American life and kind of saw how they interacted with these people that live completely self-sustaining, off the grid.
So the show really changed my perspective on not only how I wanted to live, but what I wanted to do with my life. I've been doing bushcraft and survival for quite a while, but never on a professional level or even thinking about on a professional level. And then this year at the Survival University, I did their 50-day immersive program, and then I got hired on as their instructor. Now I run all their social media, and I manage their 4,500 acre land. It is one of the most fulfilling things I have ever participated in. So for those who are wondering about the estimated cost of what it takes to do what we just did, and so I think we're around 80,000. And a lot of people are wow, I mean, that would be great, but I can't afford anything like that. I don't have 80 grand. It's neither did we.
No.
We took the opportunity and we refinanced our house down in Colorado Springs and took that money and then all of our other savings and everything else and made it work.
Honestly, a lot of it ended up going on a credit card, which we transferred into a loan. So essentially we do have a mortgage on this house. My dad had put 20,000 of the 80 total into it before we decided to buy them out. So we are paying them back for that as well.
You really realize being up here that you can always make more money, but you can't make more time.
Like the further we got away from people, the more we actually integrated into the community. This subdivision where we're at now is so tight knit. There is an apocalypse plan. We need something, we can call somebody.
We're part of the circus community.
So lucky.
Full Send Circus. We have a great group of friends.
We help to build this community of acrobats, just phenomenally talented, wonderful, wonderful human beings who fill my cup every time. You build your life. You are responsible for the people you hang out with, for the energy that you put out there, the energy that you allow to affect you. You are fully in control. And I think a lot of times, and especially when we were living in the city, we like to kind of get into this mindset, well, I don't have any choice. I have to go to work. I don't have a choice. You have more choice than what you think you have. And doing something like this, like saying, no, this is my choice now. I'm not just going to be like a victim of my circumstances. It's like a beautiful kind of what happens when you take control of your own situation and you take responsibility and say, I'm not happy, I'm changing it. That it's like amazing how everything does just kind of naturally fall where you need it to after that.
Thank you for watching our video and for stopping by Tiny House Expedition. I'm Alexis.
And I'm Christian. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And for more tiny home tours and stories, click the videos below.
And join us on Instagram for bonus content,
including face-to-face conversations with us. We hope to see you there.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one. Remember, save 15% off your Holzkern purchase with our code tinyhouse15 and get a free red gift bag with every order until February 16th. Use our link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen.